In all of this, how would you say the Occupy movement that has become quite popular now ties in with this argument of getting equality or eradicating inequities?
I think Occupy is tremendously exciting. Is there Occupy? I mean, I'm not sure how many Occupies there are in Canada. Do you have a sense?
Yeah.
There are quite a few in most of the major cities happening right now. We have one happening here, actually, here in Saskatoon,
I'm looking forward to seeing that and hanging out. But it seems to me what Occupy is a venue for things like food sovereignty. Remember, food sovereignty is about communities' right to shape their own food and agriculture policy. What does that mean? Who knows? I mean, in every community that's going to be different. But in order to have that conversation, we need equality a priori, right? In order for everyone to be part of, when you say the community must decide, we must make sure that everyone in the community is there to have that conversation. But it's also a slow, deliberative process. The fact is that many of us don't, when we think of democracy, and to bring us back to an earlier question, when we think of democracy, we think, well, that's voting. Once every couple of years we get to choose between a bunch of bastards who will eventually disappoint us, and that's what democracy is. That's not what democracy is. That's what voting is. Democracy is this process of getting together with people with whom you may disagree, and sitting down and figuring out fair ways of governing ourselves in a way where everyone's vote counts, everyone's voice counts equally. That kind of democracy, it seems to me, is something we're lacking. And it's something that takes a great deal of time. And what people have criticized Occupy for saying, well, you don't know what you want. Now, on the one hand, of course, that's unfair. What they want is equality. What they want is the people who got us into this mess to pay. And there's very clear demands there. But there's a longer sort of process of slow politics that Occupy represents for me that looks very much like what food sovereignty is. Now, food sovereignty, as I say, this idea comes from Via Campesina, this international peasant movement. And it took them 3 years to come up with this idea of food sovereignty. It was, people were like, well, we need to decide what we want, and we don't like the World Trade Organization. We think women's rights are important. We think this, that, and the other. Let's put it together, and we'll translate it, and then we will give it to our members who are farmers and farm workers and landless people, and they will, they'll talk about it, and then we'll feed it back up again. 3 years to be able to come up with this, this one slogan that still has a lot of space in it for discussion. And it took 3 years for that, and people are bemoaning the fact that Occupy has been going for a month and a bit, and they still don't know what they want. Of course they don't. I mean, of course there isn't a sort of this comprehensive program, because these politics take time. It's like the Zapatistas in southern Mexico, where they have this amazing council that takes its time to make decisions. Because we know that when you make decisions fast like this, like many of our lawmakers do, often without reading the bills that they're signing, you make bad decisions. That's bad politics. That's bad policy making. That's that's bad democracy. That's not even democracy. But when you take time, and again, the Zapatistas, they're so successful at this that they have people coming in from outside Zapatista communities to resolve disputes and to adjudicate legal matters. When you take time, you make good decisions. But it takes time. The Zapatista light bulb joke is, how many Zapatistas does it take to change a light bulb? Come back in 8 weeks. And that's how long it takes. It just takes a while to do to do politics properly and to do democracy properly. And what the Occupy movement is creating is spaces for us to do that. So I'm incredibly excited by Occupy, and I admit, I mean, the first night that I was at the Occupy in New York, I didn't see it. And I'm so grateful, and that's the strength of Occupy, is that actually it's okay. There's room for mistakes and room for taking the time to talk and to sort of flourish and to get things right, because a snap decision isn't necessary. And so I love that idea of the new venues for imagining the world differently and decolonizing our minds. Our minds are already occupied in that sense, and I think that what Occupy is doing is the slow work of kind of deprogramming us, as well as imagining concrete alternatives about how people can get paid a living, that people can get paid for work that they do, that the work in our communities happens, that hunger is eradicated, and that everyone gets to live the good life. I mean, that to me is a really exciting step forward in fighting hunger and fighting injustice in general.